See them tighten up the draft, but like you said, they can't ban everything.
Well, let's see if they can tighten up the draft as we get into game 2. RB already taking away the Kazakhs. Rakan once again from PSG. No surprises there.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, PSG are going to have that Rakan just taken off the board from Kasing time and time again. I wouldn't imagine we'd not see a Thresh ban. Jace, I think they could let go, but they've got more priority bans here in the Zac.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jace like, I mean, Thal is a godly Jace player. It would force RB to first pick it, and that might leave some things up for PSG on first rotation. If they don't want to give Jace over to Sartorius, you know, they might want to not want to give that over for RB. So maybe they go with that game plan. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, Thresh is going to be the man from RB. Probably going to get the Elise or Jace through here then for Team RB. So they have that option of first picking the Jace, first picking the Elise. Even Galio still on the cards. There's the Jace. So Elise for Muujin, would you say?
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, the guy's so aggressive, and it's either Elise or you go like Lee Sin or something. And he's shown time and time again that he can, and he has the ability to set up these lanes. And Elise in a meta where there aren't amazing amounts of assassin-style junglers that have a lot of CC, like the Kazakhs we saw last game. Muujin can set up these ganks without too much CC in the lanes. The Flash Cocoon is just perfect from him. Aggressive jungler, aggressive pick, perfect in my opinion.
Muujin comes from the Korean scene, and the Korean scene so heavily favors Elise in the jungle over a lot of other picks, right? I think she's the second most picked after
Win in
Zac.
15 minutes or do nothing.
Yeah, right? I mean, this is a sensible pick for Muujin if it's open. PSG have a couple of options to respond with, though. We have seen Gragas is open, for instance. They are going to lock in the Rek'Sai, so that's something that we've seen resurge on now on 7-12. Rek'Sai started to make her way back onto the Rift, so yeah, I think this is okay for Kirei. Again, can have impact in lanes with that Unburrow, and can try and match Elise where she can.
Looks like it might be the Braum once again for Clyde. Didn't have the best of performances in game one. Was sort of the player that got focused down a lot of the time. Not actually going to solidify it yet. It's going to be the Varus instead for Nardius, we have to expect. Although mid lane Varus is something that we don't see anymore. It could still be mid lane. It could still be flexed. You could still go with that old school tier build and just go pure poke.
I don't want to see it, especially not on Blanc. He's such a... I want to see us here. I really do. Control mage, please.
Oh, he's the control lady carry, technically.
I guess.
Stealth Slinger is going to be Galio. Yeah.
However, it's going to get his Galio. So again, you don't know, like, you have to pick it at this point. Thal is so good on that champion. The ability to clear waves early on, and then he has such a massive teamfight potential. And with Muujin being a very proactive jungler rather than reactive, which Rek'Sai is very, very good at, he's just going to set up his lane up perfectly.
RB are actually drafting something very similar to they did in the last game. They had the same facets of the composition. Ashe does something very similar to Varus. She sets up fights. You've got Galio locked in. Kazakhs and Elise will function in a similar way. They'll be looking to get into the backline to provide a platform for Galio to make engages potentially off the back of the Ashe engage. So I love the fact that PSG have basically responded and said, okay, let's make sure that we have a way of bailing someone out if they get caught by the Ashe arrow. They lock in the Tahm Kench.
Tahm Kench, very safe, as you say, in that bottom lane. Now we're going to get to that second ban phase, looking towards mid laners and top laners, probably supports from the side of RB.
Would you ban Vladimir's PSG here? You don't want to give something similar over? Because obviously Kasing's...
Syndra, Orianna, Cassio...
Zilius.
Like, Magic Felix has so much in play.
He's such a massive pull, honestly. I don't think there's a single champion you could ban right now that would really hinder him.
So would you ban Kasing's Zillion now that you've got a lane matchup that you could find very difficult to play into with the Zillion Ashe combo?
I think absolutely it's a possibility. I think not revealing your mid lane right now for Team RB is rather smart because you can allude to that and you can just ban a mid lane champion here. PSG have got so many picks that are like hovering, or should we ban it? Like Zillion was such a problem last game, but Syndra's there. Well. There's so much for you to ban. Syndra's going to be the ban they so choose though.
Solid mid laner here.
Absolutely.
Do you think RB go with the Kennen ban at this point in time to make sure that if they do want to take Tal to the top lane with Galio, he doesn't have a really awful time? Because Fiora was the ban here, which makes me feel like it's going to be top lane Galio. The sensible ban after this would be the Kennen to make sure that there's not a really poor matchup for the Galio in the top lane.
I agree with the Kennen ban. I think it is. Yes, it definitely suits, but Cassiopeia is going to be the pick instead. Blanc has played Cassio in the past, but hasn't really played it that much recently. It's going to be a straight Orianna lock, so they're looking for the top lane counter. They want to make sure that Galio is top before they pick a top lane.
Yeah, exactly, because obviously RB could then respond by sending Magifelix Galio mid. And actually, with the threat of the top lane last pick from PSG, it might be the case that RB do end up sending this Galio mid now and give Thal something different in the top lane to contend with a potential Kennen pick. Good, sensible, and clever drafting from PSG to try and thwart what RB have brought to the table.
It does nothing into the Orianna as well. Well, Orianna does nothing into the Galio. There's no kill potential there. Galio just kind of walks away. Yeah, shove wave, walk back, shove wave, walk back, go get vision, etc., etc. Blanc, yes, he's a fantastic Orianna player, but you're not going to be able to kill the Galio.
Not at all. Lulu is the lock for Team RB. Have to assume that's going to be support. And now they need some more damage if you look at their composition. Where is this damage coming from? Is it from top or is it from mid? That is the big question. If they pick Shen,
wow,
that is such a protective team composition. That's all on Cedrian's shoulders.
But then we've seen Cedrian perform this way before in the RB team lineup. He has been, but he's on an Ashe. It's not like he's
not like a Kog'Maw or a Twitch.
It's not like a super hyper carry here for RB. I am in your camp. Remember, at least can be going a bit more aggressive here because you do have two basically tanks to frontline this with. But I am worried about RB's late game damage output. I am slightly worried about this because they are relying a lot on Cedrian, and he's on Ashe, and she's not exactly the biggest late game damage threat in the world.
That PSG, look at their team fight now.
Yes.
They've locked in that Gnar, which is a very good matchup against the Shen. There's no way Shen has kill pressure over a Gnar. Absolutely no way. Then you come to the mid game, you go, okay, so what engaged tools do we have? Oh wait, we've got 4 of them. We've got Rek'Sai tunneling, we've got, you know, flash knockup, you've got Sartorius on the Gnar, you've got Blanc even with the shockwave. So much ball delivery system. There's just no way Team RB win those fights if Ashe gets picked. And there's a lot of protection in the Lulu and the Galio and the Shen. Great. Mujin's really got his work cut out for in the early game.
I was a little bit surprised because up until 30 seconds, they hadn't switched the Rek'Sai to jungle. And I was like, no way is this going to be a Gnar jungle.
But apparently the bans have changed to Windows Defender summary, so...
It's important. It's important to keep your League clients safe, okay?
It's true.
Two-factor authentication is apparently on its way.
Authentication.
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 It's not authentication, it's authentication.
Oh, okay.
You authentify something.
You're
challenging me here, Jaws.
Yes.
You're challenging me.
Dictionaries out.
Bring it out, mate. I've got a thesaurus in my bag down here.
It's not going to help you.
Speaking of a thesaurus, it looks like Paris Saint-Germain are looking up synonyms for being destroyed, because that is how they feel after game 1. RB going for synonyms for Twitch.
Cinnamon.
And apparently,
I thought you said cinnamon.
Synonyms for Twitch, because apparently Ashe came up on their list of other AD carries that can carry in the late game. The question is, can she?
I think this is, let's break this down fully, right? We've got RB here running a composition that, frankly, I think lacks some serious damage in the late game, and I think you are putting a lot of pressure onto Cedrian's shoulders. And again, you've got a good way of potentially pressuring Cedrian with Gnar Orianna combo. You've got the Rek'Sai ultimate, which can target and tunnel onto one, particular member of the enemy team. Again, can deliver the Orianna ball to key areas of the teamfight scenarios as well. And you also have the Varus, who's got Blade of the Rune King, can shred through that front line if he needs to, as well as the percentage health-based damage on his W. But Medic, here we go.
Onto the Summoner's Rift, second game of this series. RB for a 5-man invade here, perhaps. They have a lot of tools for it, but they will be spotted out with that Orianna ball, and Blanc will be safe for the time being. Hasn't gone for that mid lane. Well, it is a control mage, not an aggressive control mage, and as Jaws said in Picks and Bans, will struggle a little bit into Magic Felix, who's gone for the teleport, so double TP from RB.
Yeah, they will want to make this a 1-3-1 eventually. When Shen picks up a Tiamat, we'll be able to shove lane. Sartorius will have that upper hand in the 1v1 matchup against both Magi Felix and Thal, you have to think, as this game progresses. So no matter where RB end up putting their solo laners, Sartorius will have a decent time finding a 1v1 against both of them. And PSG have got an incredibly good team fight here. It's a little bit harking back to almost similar to the way RB have a sort of a late game team fight. You've got Orianna and so many ways to set up the Orianna shockwave. So many ways to capitalize on a engage from Nadius. RB kind of have to win early on and then snowball with the Ashe, and the bot lane is going to be the important lane for RB here. That is the major area for RB, but that always has been the major area for the Medic. I mean, Cedrian Kasing has been a carry area for them.
Do just have a little pause coming out, as you can see on your screen. I'm sure this will be sorted in a matter of moments. And we talk about the team fight and the power from PSG. My worry for them is how much pick do they actually have? Because if they can't get onto the backline, if they can't catch Cedrian, then they might actually struggle as the game gets later on because of the protection from the rest of RB. You've got a lot of ability to keep that Ashe safe on the back line.
I agree. I mean, you've got so much peel for the Ashe, and again, there aren't any direct ways apart from managing to land a Rek'Sai ultimate onto the Ashe. There aren't many direct ways of getting to Ashe. You kind of have to either catch her out of position or rely on Sartorius to find a good flank with the Gnar ultimate on the combo with an Orianna shockwave as well. So if you are looking for a composition that can consistently sustain damage through Ashe, then this is a composition that could do it. Yeah. Again, you have taunt. I mean, slows, you have catches, you have ultimate from Lulu, slows from Lulu, and everything. There's so many ways to protect Ashe, but it does rely on Cedrian being never caught out, Cedrian's positioning being excellent in team fights. It is kind of heaping a lot of pressure onto Cedrian in this particular composition, but like we said, we have seen RB do this before, so let's not pretend like they can't achieve it. They can. They
do need to start winning, though, because at the moment they're on a 2-game drawing streak. Maybe if they draw out this one as well, they'll only be sitting at 3 points, and that means actually they're tied with Origin, who they won their first game and then looked really weak last week. So RB need to start getting these 2-0s, because otherwise they will be challenged for that 4th position in the table.
Every time I hear this music on stream, I just kind of want to dance.
I just have a player with lag, so we will get that sorted out as soon as possible. Of course, want the players in the best fighting shape they can be.
Obviously, with such importance to the Challenger Series, they want to make sure they have prime playing conditions and can't play with lag, so we're going to make sure we get that sorted out. Yeah, I think... Agreed. I do feel like it will be difficult for PSG to actually find Ashe in teamfights and kill her consistently. Again, Cedrian has shown that he's got excellent positioning. He very rarely gets caught out. Once or twice, I think I've seen him being caught sort of farming a lane and then caught out. But really, most of the time I see Cedrian play so excellently in terms of his position in teamfights. And with all of that wall to get through, I mean, this is literally like ramming your composition. It is a head against this brick wall of the RB frontline. So it's going to rely on good vision advantage, good flank areas for Sartorius, and if he can find those, then there is the potential. Remember, you can also burst through that front line. That front line is not unkillable. It is the case that it is fairly tanky, but it is not unkillable, especially Orianna in the late game, Gnar, percentage health-based damage, Varus, percentage health-based damage. They can shred tanks if they need to.
It will just take a while.
It will just take a while.
And I'm wondering about which lane you prioritize if you're a PSG here, because Ashe Lulu is always going to push down towards that bottom side. I've written Ashe twice on my little list here.
Ashe.
The last one was Shen, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, Ashe Lulu's always going to push, so perhaps Rek'Sai can go down there. The other lanes should get pushed in, like Shen gets pushed in by Gnar, Galio gets pushed in by Orianna.
I think if you are looking to get advantage of PSG, you get the Gnar rolling. Okay. Because remember, one of the win conditions, let's talk about win conditions. One of the win conditions for PSG is the fact that no one should be able to step up to Gnar in a side lane, especially if Gnar goes Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet, which is generally the build that we sometimes see Gnar, well, not sometimes, very frequently see Gnars go. No one, realistically, from the 2-split push will be able to stand up to Gnar in a side lane. So if you get Gnar rolling, a win condition opens up for PSG that Gnar can get so much work done in a side lane that maybe you never get to the point where you actually have to protect the Ashe, because no teamfights ever break out and you win through split push pressure from Sartorius. Again, there is that tiny thing in the back of your mind that's saying you do need to protect your bot lane, because if, as we have always seen, RB get rolling with Kasing and Cedrian, it is a very slippery slope to the point where Ashe becomes very worth protecting around 30 minutes and just becomes a monster to deal with.
That's the thing as well. Like we keep talking about this protect the AD carry composition as if it's always going to go really late, like 40, 50 minutes, because that's what we saw in the first series of the day. You can get a protect the AD carry composition that's at 30 minutes is just shredding. Yeah. And Ashe is perfect for doing that. Runans, Blade of the Ruin King, Infinity Edge as well on top of that if you want it, just for the extra damage. We are going to get back into the game. Just cut to a future version of ourselves, 1 second in the future. You know, I'm actually a time traveler, Scoundrel.
How is Future Medic?
I travel at 1 second per second. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? Future Medic's doing well, Scoundrel. Future Medic is doing well. You're making me sound a little bit like a psychopath, but we'll let you away with that.
I don't think making you sound like is the key descriptive term there.
What, you're making me into a psychopath? I've had to work with you for 4 years.
I think it could be that you are.
Oh. It's pretty rude.
I'm joking, buddy, yeah. You know that for a long time, been your biggest #1 fan.
Should talk to my girlfriend about that. Tal's going to go in onto Sartorius.
I have.
Yeah, it's true. I've talked to your wife about it as well.
Lol.
Anyway, RB already pressuring down in this bottom lane as expected, pushing this Varus and Tahm Kench back. And we are going to see Kirei. Actually, he started up towards red and now is working his way down towards blue and Gromp, perhaps looking for an early-ish gank down towards the bottom lane. Of course, difficult to gank a Lulu with the Whimsy, with Glitter Lance, can get those slows off. Pings came out onto him, so they know that he is in that vicinity. And they will be able to track him for the time being. RB looking to start a winning spree here in the European Challenger Series. Thus far, not been able to do too much with it. Kasing's actually caught out here. He's going to try and get away. Does have the flash and the ignite, but he's getting harassed by Kairi. Glitter Lance, Kairi looking for it. Praise Seeker, flash in! And that is a very dead Lulu.
I like that Kasing held onto his flash, realizing that he was just caught out by Kirei there. Kirei just managed to make an aggressive hit. They're going to go into Sartorius very early on.
Yeah, and they can do this because they know that the jungler is on the bottom side of the map. Tal actually got the push advantage in top. They get a kill now. Cedrian's going to get dived as well. Here comes the TP, though, and immediately PSG decide they don't want any of that. TP burnt by Magi Felix, cancelled at the last moment.
Yeah, great response there from Magi Felix to head down towards that bot lane to protect Cedrian. Oh, another gang. I mean,
this is disgusting. Mujin will repel up, gets himself away. Tal flashes out. That is gross. Please, RB. It's before 9 o'clock at night. The watershed hasn't happened yet.
I love the way that Mujin is focusing the top lane because they knew how important it was for Sartorius to be ahead of his opposition. And now, burn his teleport. Got immediately dove by Mujin and Thal, and they could even potentially lose the first tier turret. They're clearing waves to allow the minions to do the damage. Kirei will respond.
Kirei's going to get taunted up, does get the knock up, but he's dead as well.
This is
illegal!
What is going on here? I mean, this is just PSG. They are like lemmings. They are like lemmings walking off the cliff where the jaws of Tal and Mujin await them.
Sartorius is coming. He'll be fine, guys. He's not going to die this time. He's only 2 levels behind.
3 kills in a row, and they didn't learn their lesson.
Well, we said that they were going to lack damage. Mujin having 3 kills at 5 minutes probably gives them a little bit of damage coming from the jungle roll. We'll get the mobility boots and an Aether Wisp. So some AP and some more movement speed. And PSG, they are in bad shape early on.
Very important to get Mujin rolling because he becomes a major damage source in the mid game for this team because he is one of the non-tanks, is the way we're going to call it, I think, from this point. He is one of the people on the team who isn't a tank, so he's going to have to be a source of damage for this team, and now they've got a massive advantage in the top lane. Sartorius does have flash still, so should be able to escape further ganks, but Mujin and Tal have a great combo together, and they are heading back up top. I love that Mujin has realized that shutting down Na removes one of those win conditions for PSG.
This is what we saw them do in Challenger Series qualifiers time and time again. It was the Tal and Mujin show. And Mujin would just continuously gank time and time and time again, just destroying any hopes the other enemy top laner had of actually surviving. We are going to have another pause.
It's also too important to note that, you know, Mujin and Tal are both Korean players, and we don't often talk about communication in teams. I don't know what their level of English is like. I'm assuming it's pretty decent, but nothing really replaces communicating in, you know, your original language, your mother tongue. And Mujin and Tal have shown that they've got that kind of synergy together, that they know exactly what page they are on at exactly what point, and know how to execute every sort of gank pattern that they've tried to achieve up there.
It's not the hardest gank in the world with Elise. Pretty easy to tower dive early on, but yeah, as you say, they are doing a great job of continuously just harassing that top lane, and the rest of the map doesn't really matter to them. Look at that. They've already got a 600 gold lead, all sitting on Mujin, 600 as well on Tal, and that's giving them about 1,200 overall. And
Cedrian and Lulu are just pushing in. Kasing and Cedrian just pushing in Nadius and Clyde anyway. I mean, we expected that. The Ashe Lulu lane is going to shove relentlessly because they will be able to clear waves so consistently. And Kirei is now forced to make decisions on the map about where he wants to have an impact. Do you have to babysit Sartorius at this point, or do you try and gain advantages in other lanes? We talked about Kirei wanting to buy advantages in the top lane to give them a win condition in the form of Sartorius' split push as the game progresses. Mujin shut that down early on. Now does Kirei have to rethink his gank pattern strategy? Does he have to go towards mid lane to get Orianna rolling?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Like maybe you can gank top lane if Mujin's not there because Mujin got all the kills. So actually all we've seen from that Shen is that he's got the Ninja Tabi and a little bit of health. It's not like too devastating a lane. It's very difficult for the Na to snowball it by himself.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see Kirei go up there. But for the time being, he really wants to look at other places and say, I can't really gank top anymore because Mujin's there and just absolutely destroying. We are going to get back into the game once again. There was just a bit of lag from one of the players, and I think it has been sorted. So we should be back onto the Summoner's Rift.
Here we go. Cedric and Kasing still just shoving in there, and Karay is going to make his way up towards the top side of the map. This will be there should anything unfortunate become Sartorius, as he has shoved that lane in quite consistently here.
That he has. Still that gold lead as you would expect for Team RB. And it's the acceleration. It's the acceleration game here for RB. We talked about the fact that they needed to get to the point where their tanks were tanky and their carries had damage. Well, when Mujin's already got 3 kills, you just accelerate that point ever so slightly quicker, and you deny PSG any option of winning these lanes in the way they wanted to.
So for someone who has had such an impact on the lanes, Mujin very gank heavy on this Elise, by being ahead in the early game, it makes your ganks that much more impactful. You suddenly become a guy that can walk into bot lane and 100-0 Nadius on this Varus. You know, you have that kind of impact now. Sartorius has got to be careful, but I mean, Tal's never really going to kill Sartorius, I don't think.
That's what Sartorius would have wanted to be doing for the entire laning phase, just continually harassing, but because of the ganks, he's 20 CS behind, and he is really struggling up towards that top side. We did see Mujin sneak into this bush in the bottom lane.
He's pretty close to level 6.
Cocoon is there.
I think Cedric gets level 6.
Cocoon straight to the face. Here come the rest of RB. Clyde there just in time to save his AD carry.
Cedric just hit level 6. I mean, they could have waited. They could have been able to use arrow into Cocoon and then been able to maybe find that kill. I just don't think Cedric was quite in the position to land a couple of basic attacks necessary to finish Nadius off there. Karay will come down to help clear the way, but again, another hugely impactful gank from Mujin is going to set up another area of the map that RB can look to capitalize on, and the shove from Lulu and Ash is going to eventually result in a tier 1 tower take.
You get 2 summoners as well for that gank bot lane. You get the flash from Cly, and you get the heal from Nadius, and you force them back to half health on the turret. There's a Mountain Drake, another Cocoon landing. Mujin is just totally on point with this Elise. We saw it in CSQ. He dominates when he gets ahead on this Spider-Woman.
And this should be a shove and a tower take here. Karay will be the only one that's left to defend it. Cly is going to stay around, but this might actually be a tier 1 tower as level 6 more, level 7 Magifelix heads down towards this bot lane. The rotation puts the fear in the hearts of PSG.
You have to run away.
And you've got to run away. That's first tower of the game going over to RB, and all facilitated by Mujin's presence on the map. He has been gifted this Elise in the draft phase and has made it work.
First Tower Blood down towards the bottom side. 2,500 gold lead for Team RB. Only 8 minutes in. Take that every day of the week. They can look towards Mountain Drake as well. Mujin might even be able to solo that one, as Karay and Blanc will try and steal away the blue.
Let's talk about the wider impact of this game as well. If PSG lose, they are in a terrible position going forward in the Challenger Series. The 1-year plan from Yellow Star, scrapped. Yeah. You know, you can still make the playoffs, but it is mathematically a lot harder to do so, and it relies on other results more than anything too.
Well, I think it relies on PSG being a lot better than we've seen from them.
Yeah.
Like they have to play Schalke and Wind and Rain. They've got tough opponents after this. It's not like everyone else is a cakewalk, whereas RB have Giants and Origin. Giants the strongest team in the league at the moment, but Origin is an expected win for any team after their last week's performance. So, like PSG, they were hoping for the redemption that they had last split. They were hoping for that 5-game winning spree. But this PSG roster just doesn't look like they can do it.
I have to agree.
Like, how much of that do you think is synergy as well? Because White Knight just came into top lane, which last split, and that was when they started winning. And I think top lane is a lot less synchronized with the rest of the team. You can kind of just play your lane for a while and then teleport in when you're called to teleport in and do what you have to do. Whereas a support, who tends to be the shot caller for a team, who tends to be a big playmaker, actually affects the team a lot more. So I wonder perhaps they just haven't had enough time to synergize as a roster, as a lineup.
The problem is they needed to make changes because they were struggling so heavily. But it doesn't look like that solved the major issues that PSG have got right now.
Mujin is the major issue they have right now.
Absolutely. Especially
arachnophobia.
2.5k gold lead opening up here for RB. Very early on into the game. And again, Mujin up in this top lane, looking to put pressure onto Sartorius, who does have flash available now.
Kasing's up here as well. They're just looking to try and catch him out perhaps with the Whimsy. They can always go for the dive with the Wild Growth. They have enough damage in this 3-man squad. Meanwhile, Cedrian's just going to wait for the wave to be pushed into him bot lane. The arrow doesn't connect. but it does force Sartorius back, and this will be the second tower of the game for Team RB. This is something we're seeing from the best teams in the league at the moment, is they get an early kill or they get an early advantage, and they don't then continue to get kills. They just get towers, they get objectives, they get CS leads, and it snowballs the lead a lot stronger. Actually, going to be a teleport in here, I think, from Magic Felix to join the fight. Does have the hero's entrance. All 4 members of PSG are coming down. There's the counter TP as Nars going to join it. Kyrie with the flank. Magic Felix there. Going to get the taunt onto Stand United, onto Cedrian. Here comes Blanc. The shockwave knocks him back. Great play. Kyrie will fall as well. It's going to be a 2-for-1. Actually, Clyde eats up Kyrie to keep him alive. Sartorius diving onto Magic Felix. PSG with the plays coming straight back into this game. Mujin with the cocoon. Mega Gnar not quite there for Sartorius. Blanc tanks up the tower and PSG get out alive.
Lulu's coming down now. Can they protect this? Don't think they can. This will be a tower response from PSG. Good, decisive move from them. They needed to make it.
It's what we said. They need to be aggressive. They need to make the plays. And as soon as they do that, they get themselves 2 kills. They get themselves back in this game.
Teleport coming through here.
Teleport is going to come in. There's no tower there. Tar looking for the flank. Has flash. Has the taunt as well. Perhaps looking for a 3-man. Actually just decides to go for the 1, but he's eaten up by Clyde. And they get away from the cocoon as well. Magic Felix not going to jump in with the taunt, but the wild growth does come down. Clyde can't pop the thick skin. Kyrie there as well. Tal so low. He'll get taken out. 1-for-1 trade. As RB perhaps overextends slightly to force PSG back.
Yeah, they don't get anything from it, RB, as well. They just burn teleport to gift a 1-to-1, but they are going to rotate towards this mid lane tier 1, and this is something that me and Jaws talked about in the first series of the day, that sometimes you can win team fights without actually having won them decisively. If you force the enemy back, it gives you map presence, and that is what maybe RB were looking to solidify there, but unfortunately no one else able to back up Cedrian's push on this mid lane.
Blank had a godly shockwave in that last fight. Hopefully we get a replay, if not now, after the game, because I'm pretty sure his shockwave interrupts the hero's entrance, which stops the damage reduction onto Cedrian, so they're able to get the kill.
I mean, I think he hits a 3-man as well. I think he hits it onto Tal, Magic Felix and Cedrian. It was a fantastic shockwave from Blank in that dive in the bot lane. And it was the response that needed to happen. If Kirae was not in position to make that dive, that would have gifted RB such a massive advantage off the back of that top lane push. It was the response that was needed to happen to keep PSG in this game, and I love that they were going to be proactive about it. We talked about it in the... let's have a look at this. This is the dive that we're talking about. Again, it was the dive that needed to take place. Cedrian is by himself. The exhaust comes through. Have a look at Cedrian's shockwave here. It does. It stops the hero's entrance and then basically sets up this team fight. And again, Clyde with the Devour too as well.
Great play from Clyde as well. Oh, Magic Felix with the taunt. They do get Mujin at the start of the fight. The polymorph on Kyrie. Blanc knocked back by Magic Felix. He's going to get chommed down, almost stunned. Up, Winds of War, shockwave. That's another kill for PSG. They pull the trigger. And they are 6 kills to 4 up now. This is the PSG that are the comeback kings of the European Challenger Series. They are looking to start that winning spree today.
Proactive and decisive, and the fact that Nardius has got Blade of the Ruin King, he's got percentage health-based damage in his kit.
Whoa,
that was I don't know what happened to my voice there. No idea what happened to my voice there.
Your voice is as excited and hypey as PSG must be at the moment.
But it's important to note that these frontline tanks are not surviving a huge amount of time now. Against PSG. So this should be the time that they look to execute on. I think this is a good time for them to continue this aggression because they have that advantage in terms of damage. They've got Morellonomicon on Orianna, a small item spike for her. They've got the Blade of the Ruin King and Berserker's Greaves on Nadia, so they're going to be doing percentage health-based damage. It's a good time for them to start pushing their advantages.
And the synergy from PSG there, like I talked about it literally moments before the fight, said perhaps the synergy's off. And then they show a bot lane fight like that. That takes immense synergies. Clyde eating up Kyrie, so he was stopping to tank tower, being able to get the counter kills, being able to get a positive trade, and actually almost taking the gold lead at 15 minutes as well. RB on average are 2,000 gold ahead at 15 minutes against their opponents. This game, PSG have shrunk that and actually are slightly ahead themselves.
And I think Jaws talked about this as well, getting Blank onto something like a playmaking mid laner, control-based mid laner, like Blank, like Orianna. It has been good for him. He's 2-0-3, almost 100% kill participation at this point in time. So, great place for PSG to be in right now. They need to capitalize on it, though. They can't let this advantage go to their head and let things slip. They need to continue pressure. Top lane tier 1 would be a good area to try and shove in. Mujin there has vision control, though, so it's going to be difficult for them to do that safely.
They're getting a bit of vision into the topside river to try and deny that. Lots of pings coming out as they spot all of the wards. And this is a problem for PSG because their early game throughout the Challenger Series has been pretty good, but then when they come to these mid to late game decisions, they tend to struggle a little bit. And we said they need to be pulling the trigger in the mid game. They need to be making plays now because otherwise that Ashe is just going to scale up. Already has a Blade of the Ruined King. Magic Felix has the Adaptive Helm to try and protect. Still not sure about Adaptive Helm. Would have preferred to see Spirit Visage and Abyssal Mask, but lots of mid laners are getting it when they're playing the mid lane Galio.
Might protect you against continuous command attacks, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know why tons of people are getting it. Korean mid laners are getting it as well, and for the value it gives you against people who don't, like against not Cassio, not Syndra, it doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. But people still buying it. It is the conventional build. And PSG actually trying to set up towards this top side here. They do have a little bit of control as they clear out the walls. There's a TP in as well. Kaime perhaps looking for Cedrian. Exhaust comes down, stand united. Here comes the hero's entrance as well. Chain of Corruption's going to land. And look at how much they can protect Cedrian. Tanketch in the midst. The taunt comes out. Nadia's trying to do what he can. Kaime's there as well. Can try and get the Mega Gnar off. They get one. Blanc on a killing spree, but it's 3v4 for the time being. The Gnar on the backline is all on Sartorius, but RB able to protect Cedrian this entire time. Blanc steps forward, 2v3, Kasing and Cedrian trying to do what they can up towards the top side. And they will force Blanc and Nardius away.
Blank's Shockwave maybe not as impactful as you would have hoped. He's
Kasing flashing in. Oh! Excuse me, headphone wearers, that could not have been pleasant for you. It was not pleasant for Kasing either, as he was absolutely abolished by Blanc.
And I think Blanc's going towards a very early Void staff because he wants to be able to get through that front line. He wants to be as effective against that frontline tank line as possible. And this means I think PSG are gearing up to consolidate on that item pickup, consolidate on the fact that Blanc is just destroying people right now. They'll be looking for fights.
Muujin's going towards a Hextech Gunblade Scoundrel. Just as an offshoot, a side topic for you there. Thought it'd be interesting to know.
Mixed damage.
Yeah.
Helps chase down a target
Possibly.
a little bit.
It's not something we commonly see. Although, coming back to that last team fight, something we did start to see was how well Team RB can protect Cedrian. He didn't die in the entire fight, even though he was engaged on.
Do you know what? I got so distracted by that Orianna play that I actually completely agree with you.
Bring it back, man.
Let's bring it back. That damage reduction that Hero's Entrance provides you, the fact that Cedrian held onto his flash, that's what I found so important about what Cedrian did. Through that ultimate of the Shen, through the Hero's Entrance, he held onto his flash until the very end. Flash gave him position where he was going to be untouched by PSG, and suddenly he became, you know, untouchable in the backline. The one worry I have, and it's a worry that I've had ever since the conception of this team composition, is that he wasn't really doing that much damage.
No.
He wasn't really destroying people despite escaping all of that threat, so...
Still only sitting on the Blade of the Ruined King seal. When he gets the Rune Hands, when he gets
Infinity Edge, maybe.
Infinity Edge as well, perhaps on top of that, he will be absolutely shredding. Because what will happen is he'll play a little bit defensive and step to the backside of the Hero's Entrance, and then when the Galio comes in, he'll step up behind that front line, which is exactly what you want to do. Blanc, however, if he can ever catch anyone out, they are dead.
Another element that I wanted to talk about was Sartorius. Right at the end of that team fight, he did find Ashe in an ultimate. He did find a way to get to that backline and pierce through the frontline tanks. So,
but everything had been used.
Exactly. But that might be the scenario that PSG need to make this work as RB head towards this Rift Herald. Does look like PSG are going to respond to this.
They need to just there we
he's
are.
just dead. Oh, I forgot. It's 20 minutes. Baron
She's also not dead. She returns to the Void.
She returns to the Void. Okay, well, Baron just ate her, and she returned to the Void.
It could actually, is she eaten by Baron? That would be a really cool animation, wouldn't it? Like if Rift Herald had like reverted back to the middle of the Baron pit, and then Baron like came up through it and like nommed it down. That would be pretty darn sweet. That's
going to go in the Rito Please backlog.
Rito Please. They're breaking all the memes. Can you break this one as well for me?
I don't think it's become a meme yet.
I made it a meme.
Should we make it a meme?
It's a top quality meme from the UK scene and the EU Challenger Series. PSG fighting for their lives, perhaps fighting for their hopes to get to the LCS as well. We've seen them come back from worse before. At the moment, they are leading ever so slightly over Team RB, and we talked a lot about their composition earlier on, Scoundrel, and their win conditions. You said, and we said, they need to be forcing fights in the mid-game. They need to try and force stuff before Cedrian really comes online. Are they setting up to do that well enough, in your opinion?
They have done so far, but I said they need to continue that pressure. The problem is now that when you've lost your tier 1 turrets, it becomes a lot harder to force those kind of scenarios. Now you're going to be trying to get vision control of Baron and bringing people towards the Baron to force these fights. Or trying to siege a tier 2 turret and make it happen. It's just, you've got to commit so much more to find these kind of fights as PSG this time round. So I expect this to slow up a little bit, but you don't want to allow it to slow up. You want to allow PSG to continue rolling that kind of pressure. Also difficult against the double teleport to actually bring your Gnar to a fight. He's not yet got his Black Cleaver. He went for the Frozen Mallet, which is going to give him still great split push pressure, but he hasn't yet got the Black Cleaver, so he's not going to completely dominate a side lane at this point in time.
Actually behind in CS because of that early camp. Hasn't died since then, but definitely struggled.
I mean, let's be honest, his recovery from that scenario was amazing. Sartorius recovered from being dove twice in the top lane, losing teleport and losing a huge amount of CS, and is still becoming a useful and relevant facet of a team fight for PSG.
But it does delay it, and that's what RB intended to do. They delay the ability for PSG to actually take on these full 5v5 fights. Still no QSS anywhere on Paris Saint-Germain. It's a little bit of a worry for me when you've got the Ashe Arrow, you've got the Taunt, you've got the Cocoon, you've got the second Taunt from Shen, you've got a lot of ability to lock someone down. I would like to see a QSS, even though you've got the Tahm Kench there to gobble you up. I just like to see a little bit more. Perhaps Mini Trupax is wearing off on me every time he faces into a Varus as a Caitlyn. He first items the QSS. It's like BF Sword QSS. And he's unkilled thus far, so he must be doing something right.
Well, Mini is shown to be an excellent AD carry, so... Not gonna get, I doubt he'll get his hands on Caitlyn.
Underestimated by people early on.
I underestimated them the first day before I saw them play, and now I don't underestimate them.
Sure, fam. I still have your tier list.
My tier list, lol.
Anyway, game slowed down ever so slightly here. 23 minutes in, it's a 800 gold lead for Paris Saint-Germain. They are 2 dragons down an ocean and a mountain picked up by RB, so they will be able to get these objectives ever so slightly quicker. Looks like they're trying to set up vision in the river, but struggling for it for a moment. Actually, Cedric is going down towards the bottom lane to join up with Tal. Maybe waiting for Sartorius to peek his little Yordle head down towards the bottom side of the map.
That is a static shiv on Ashe, not a Runan's Hurricane.
Good clear.
Good clear. Bit of extra single target damage as well, which is actually maybe what she needs to be a bit more aggressive in a single target scenario.
Oh, there's the arrow hits onto Sartorius. He is going to be able to get towards Mega, flashes away straight away. Doesn't want any piece of that.
Pings come out for PSG to set up around Baron, but I don't think they have the... they weren't quick enough to do so.
This is PSG. They can always go for Baron if they want to.
Don't think it's a solid enough position to go for it, but it gives them the excuse to clear vision. And actually, sometimes clearing vision around Baron is as good as setting up for it. Forces the enemy to make aggressive moves to get back some vision control of that Baron area, which is where you can set up for team fights and try and utilize the fact that Blank is literally decimating. When he finishes that Rapidoodle's death cap, he's going to be a monster.
That he is indeed.
Do you not call it Rapidoodles?
Not anymore, mate. They've hit the big leagues now, Challenger Series and all that jazz. The reason
it's Mr. Big Boy LCS straps coming through.
Yes. Paris Saint-Germain still only that 800 gold ahead. Cocoon misses. RB happy just to wait this one out for the time being. Kaire was looking for a flank there, unable to catch anyone out. Sartorius farming in the bottom lane, still 80 CS behind, and this is a struggle that PSG will have because their engage isn't that easy. They kind of need to be engaged on, and then they can disengage, re-engage the fight. They're looking for the counter-engage, you might say. Scoundrel. At the moment, they are unable to find it as RB are playing very passively. Oh, there's the Devour. This is going to be a 3-man taunt. Knock up onto Blanc as well. Kaire trying to get away. Here comes the Hero's Entrance. They're going to have to flash away from the top side. They do both get out. The arrow hits all the way on the back line. Blanc will cleanse it away, but here comes Magic Felix once again. Has the taunt up. Actually looks like Gnar is in the back line. He's on the flank here. Is he going to be able to get the connection in? Hits the building. Doesn't quite get what he wants. And RB, after taking the fight, will look for the mid lane tower.
Again, good consolidation for RB here. Didn't really get much from it, but they won the team fight, which allowed them to go and take an objective from the map. They might now also be able to go down and take the Cloud Drake. A 2-for-1 deal, 2-for-1 special on objectives here for RB. PSG caught out, unfortunately. That engage of the Galio taunt into Shen Ultima was pretty strong, but you've got I think they... How did Orianna get out of it?
Cleanse.
Cleanse. Ah, yeah, she's got cleanse. For some reason, I thought there was a Mikhail somewhere. I was like, is there Mikhail somewhere? No, cleanse. Cleanse allowed Blank to get out of that Ash arrow, which is, you know, very important because he is really the linchpin of this composition.
PSG, let's go. Come on. Starting up the Baron, this is juicy, this is sweet, this is what they need to try and get back into this game, because although the gold is very even, they are definitely falling behind. Sartorius, without teleport, has to be here as well. Magi Felix does have flash, can jump in with the shield of Durand, but the Baron's already falling, and PSG secure the big objective there. So Wild go four-man, actually onto 5. Muji comes in with the cocoon as well. There's a shockwave, the Gnar into the wall, 1 dead as Nardius falls. It looks like Sartorius is going to be left to the wolves that are RB. 9 kills to 9, a Baron on PSG, and perhaps a way back into this game.
I don't think they were ever out of it in the first place, though, so they've actually just given themselves a platform to do something with. That's more important. They've given themselves a platform to be proactive now. Yep. They can make Sartorius function in the side lane with Baron. He's got the Black Cleaver and the Frozen Mallet, the items that allow him to split push effectively. But they did lose 2 members, and now RB can look to punish that. They can at least get the tier 2 turret in the mid lane, which for PSG, I think that's a fair toll. 2 kills and a tier 2 turret in the mid lane for a Baron, which they can then look to use. The problem is actually Gnar went down, so he's not even going to be able to use that Baron.
You can't split push with that Baron at all, which is not the best of situations for Paris Saint-Germain. Looks like they might have been chasing slightly onto RB there, but even though PSG have been able to take a couple of fights, they've only got that Baron in terms of neutral objectives to their name. RB are sitting 3 dragons ahead and are scaling towards this late game. Be interested to see what Sartorius picks up as his next item. Has a pickaxe, could be that Infinity Edge that we have talked about. Could be going in a lot of different directions. Let's have a look at this fight after the Baron once again.
Again, just Magi Felix making the big taunt plays. We've seen it so much from Galio's, that flash taunt. Low impact shockwave again, very difficult for him to get position on that, and then he was just capitalized. It was basically then just RB capitalizing on what a fantastic engage Magi Felix pulled out the bag there.
And it is the problem with the shockwave. Although Blanc has the Rabadoodle's Death Cap and the Void Staff and the Morello Nomicon, he can't burst through Magi Felix, who is incredibly tanky, especially with that shield of Durand on. He can't burst through Tal because of the Spirit Visage. If he can hit Mugen, if he can hit Cedrian, perhaps he can burst them out. They won't have quite as much protection, but then you've got Hero's Entrance, you've got Wild Growth, you've got all of these different tools that RB have lined up to try and protect their AD carry.
Infinity Edge followed by what you'd imagine to be Last Whisper for Nardius. He's now facing a lot of armor. Sunfire Cape, Ninja Tabai, Chain Vest on Shen, Frozen Heart, Ninja Tabai and Chain Vest on Galio. There's going to need to be some armor penetration at some point. I know that Black Cleaver does help your other AD teammates do a bit more damage, but can't rely on that in team fights to be your major source of armor shred, so we'd like to see a Last Whisper at some point.
Tal's kind of bouncing between mid and top lane here for the time being. Sartorius, that Black Cleaver helps him a lot in the lane. He's not usually going to get that many attacks out when he joins a team fight. He's more there for the Mega Gnar and the knock-ins to the wall.
Yeah.
So, as you say, we really need to see some penetration from Nardius. They do still have Baron buff, of course, so Paris Saint-Germain will be trying to utilize this to as much effect as they can.
Actually, something we didn't even touch on. Wave clear from RB, especially through a Baron buff, is so poor.
That's why Cedrian went Static Shiv as well.
Yeah.
It gives you that better wave clear. Arrow's going to land the stun onto Cly. Here comes Sartorius. Gnar, but that's only onto the Shen. He's down to half, has to flash away. Here's the Hero's Entrance as well. Knock up onto Kyrie. The Shockwave brings it back. Shield of Durand. It's a Stand United. Look at the protection. It's absolutely huge in the front line. The taunt. That's a dead Cly. Spirit Refuge comes down as well. Nardius is so low. Sartorius takes out Mugen. What can Blank do now as Nardius falls? RB, they just keep protecting whoever's at the front. They're bouncing in and out, and they win the fight 2-for-1.
Forget protect the Ashe, it's protect anybody that's taking damage here for RB.
If Ashe isn't near enough the front line to take any damage.
Exactly, it's just a way of phrasing it. Yeah. But you know, it's so excellent the level of protection that they are providing for targets on their team. Again, once the armor penetration comes through for Nardius, you might see a bit more impact for him in these team fights. But
I don't think anymore. Like, you've got Knight's Vow onto Tal.
Oh, wow, okay.
You've got Redemption Ardent Censer onto Kasing. Gargoyle Stone. Oh, that is absolutely disgusting. It's all on Blanc. Blanc has to kill Kasing or Cedrian early on. The shockwave there was, you know, got Tal down to half, but he still can back out and then Stand United back into the fight.
It's the same with the Gnar ult. A lot of these ultimates that have been used by PSG are used because Gnar had to use his ultimate because he was about to lose Mega Gnar form, so he used it onto the only target he could see. Blanc had to use Shockwave because they were retreating from the fight realistically. You need to get far more impactful ultimates from both Sartorius and Blanc to expect to have an impact and win these team fights. And I think that's where we're looking at. And it feels bad because Blanc has been the best performing member of PSG so far. But
it was the same last year, or last split.
But he needs to be the one to step up and win these team fights for PSG. He is the factor that wins at this point.
Still only 1,000 gold lead for RB. At what point does this just scale away from Paris Saint-Germain, though? We talked about it. Maybe super late game, they can get back into it as well, because Ash doesn't scale incredibly well. Does scale well, but not on the lines of a Twitch or a Cogmore late game. Still in a very strong position. Another Dragon coming up in 8 seconds or so. This will be their 4th of the game. They've got pushing lanes. They have got the teleport on Tal as well if he wants to join the fight. This is a mountain. And it looks like PSG are just going to give it up. 4 Dragons to none. 4 towers to 3, and a 1,000 gold lead still in favor of Team RB with a composition that we thought just didn't have enough damage. They are making it work.
They're not wrecking these team fights though,
no,
but they are winning almost like a mini war of attrition in the fights. They are just surviving for so long that Ash is just spent doing so much damage. And you've also got to pay attention to the fact that Elise is actually hitting pretty hard as well herself.
Ooh.
Great sidestep by Kure.
That was so close. I think one of the things I still really want to see is a QSS somewhere. Because every fight, Nardius gets caught out, and Clyde can only eat one person at a time. Yeah. So if Nardius is caught out, he needs to be QSSing. If Blanc's caught out, he needs to be eaten or have a QSS of his own. And it makes more sense for Nardius to get it because he can go Mercurial Scimitar. You can't get a QSS and then build it up onto something on an Orianna unless you're playing on-hit Orianna like PoE.
He's got plans anyway, yeah, exactly. It looks like Nardius is farming pretty hard for something right now. I think he's sitting on a decent amount of gold at this point in time. He's either working towards a QSS, I imagine, or he's going to be working towards a Last Whisper to get more damage and be more efficient against that front line from RB. But he has been farming and farming jungle camps and taking a lot of gold away here. So you imagine he's trying to accelerate something pretty quickly towards an item spike that he can use in the next team fight.
I mean, both make sense. Last Whisper, as you say, because you need to have that extra penetration. The problem is you can't kill people if you're dead.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's going very low very quickly in a lot of these fights.
It is Last Whisper. He does go for
he does go for the Last Whisper, as we say. Cocoon misses once again.
And it's going to be Lord Dominic's Regard as well. We haven't talked about that, but the Giant Killer on Lord Dominic's Regard is an incredible passive to have against this kind of composition. So that might be an item spike that PSG are now waiting for. Just basically go full tank shred. Do you expect a potential Leandries on Orianna after her Ludens?
Yeah, quite possibly. They are going to engage onto Magifelix here. Uses the Justice Punch to the face of Kyrie. And they have done no damage to him whatsoever. Through the Lulu shield, through the Magic Shield, he gets himself off the winds, off the Shield of Duran. It's just, it's very difficult to do him. He's also got an Elixir of Iron, just to top himself up in case that gargoyle wasn't big enough.
I think one of the tanks needs Locket of the Iron Solari here. I know that I can see Mujin going for it, but I'd love a tank to have it because the shields that would also provide on top of what they already have.
I think next item for Magifelix makes the most sense because he's already got that Gargoyle Stone Plate. You don't really want it on Shen. Although, again, would work relatively well. They are going to start up the Baron once again. Here we go. Eaten away from the arrow. Magifelix does have flash and has the taunt. PSG on the Baron. Sartorius is chasing off Tal up towards the bottom side of the map. PSG disengage. Mujin off towards the top of this all. Some good... They've been fighting for like 10 seconds by this point, and neither of them have taken any damage. They do get the root down onto the Lulu. Kasing's going to flash away. Redemption used as well. The taunt onto Kyrie, eating up the shockwave. Misses in the midst of the fight. Here's Sartorius as well. Hero's entrance going to come down. Not going to knock up anyone. Sartorius is down at the bottom of this fight, and he's going to be the one who has to run away. Magifelix exhausted as he gets onto Clyde. The taunt lands again as he flashes in, but Magifelix can't get the damage off. Mujin from the side. The Winds of War is not enough. Magifelix stunned up, and PSG turn this one around. Sartorius with the Gnar into the wall, but they still can't kill anyone. I do not get it. PSG, do some damage.
How can you do damage against the impenetrable fortress that is Magifelix and Tal? I mean, Magifelix soaked up more damage than I have ever seen and still walked away for free. Mujin's still here. It's not over yet.
Kyrie gets healed up though. Mujin's there. Magifelix has joined once again TP's into the fight. They're going to chase up towards the top side. Clyde eats up Blanc to try and keep him alive, but Kairei's dead. Blanc gets out. Clyde there once again. The shockwave is going to connect. Look at Cetrian! They can't kill him.
Almost one shot by Blanc right there. And it's going to be the Baron after some ridiculous amount of damage soaking from the RB front line. They win a 5-year team fight to come out on top. That's how it feels for RB. They don't win by pure wombo combo. They don't win by doing an insane amount of burst damage. They win by soaking.
They just outlast you.
Literally outlasting you. They soak everything that PSG throws at you. And they're still going at the end. They still have gas left in the tank. Once PSG have run out of mana, once PSG have run out of cooldowns, RB are ready to go another round.
In ancient times, Excalibur, when humans were hunter-gatherers, the way that we killed gazelles, the way that we killed creatures quicker than us, was we ran after them for a long, long time. Days and days and days, and eventually our foe would run out of stamina, run out of energy, and keel over, and we would walk up to them and take them down. That is exactly what RB are doing. They're just outlasting Paris Saint-Germain time and time again, and eventually the stamina, the energy, the hope behind PSG is going to give.
And it's very difficult to ignore a tank in the front line like a Galio, who, if you try to walk past him, could just taunt you up and set you up for a big, big amount of damage coming from Cetrian.
Elder Drake will be up soon. Tal doing what he can in this split push role against Sartorius. Still 70 CS up in that side lane, and Sartorius now has a Gargoyle Stone Plate for himself.
Blank's ultimates just haven't been good enough either in these fights.
Totally whiffed in that last one, even came back off cooldown at the end of the fight. That's how long it went on for. Tal, the front line here for RB, as they look towards the Elder Drake. 3 seconds on the spawn, 4 dragons in their back pocket, 2 mountains, an ocean, and a cloud. And perhaps that final breath of air will be enough to push over PSG. Sartorius trying to build up the Meganar. PSG know they have to fight. It's going to be a 5v5. Magi Felix has the hero's entrance to join the fight. The Elder Drake's down to 5,000 HP. Kairei looking for the steal. It resets. Hero's entrance comes in. Tal, 3-man knockup. Blanc's up towards the side. Magi Felix with the taunt gets onto Blanc. The Oriana's the one they're trying to get rid of, but the shockwave doesn't connect. There's the Gnar. Cetrian is unstoppable as Kairei downs. Magi Felix once again. Look at the shield from the Stand United. How can you kill that which will not die? PSG forced back once again. They pay the iron price, but RB take all the gold. 7,000 gold ahead. 14 kills to 10. They have the Elder, they have the Baron, and perhaps they have the win in their back pocket.
This is ludicrous. How do you get through this Galio with the shields from Lulu? The shields and the Gargoyle Stone Plate, the Elixir, the Iron Solari as well. How do you get through this Galio? He is single-handedly taking punches from everybody on PSG and just brushing them off.
I'm going to call on our observer. I would love to see the damage taken stats at the end of this series. Tweet them out, send them to me, I'll tweet them out. I know you're listening, Des. Make it so, because the damage endured by RB just... It's incredible how much force they have taken straight to the face, and they have been a brick wall time and time again.
And Ash has got a very hyper-carry orientated build coming out as well.
I call this the Duracell build.
The Duracell
because it's the Energizer?
The Energizer, yeah. And he's got the Blade of the Ruin King in the back. He doesn't even need armor penetration because he's not really going up against that much armor. And even if he is, it's not on targets that are naturally built to be tanky. Like a Galio or a Shen. I mean, obviously, Gnar in Mega Gnar form, sure, but he's not...
Now he's got a QSS as well alongside that, so a little bit of protection for him. Nardius did work in that last fight, but he just can't get through the tank line.
He's got Lord Dominic's regard now, so maybe he does a bit more damage, but I seriously doubt it.
And Magi Felix is going towards a Mandarin's Omen of his own, so he's got so much armor. Absolutely just devastating. Look at the armor on Tal. 245 armor, 170 magic resist. I bet Magi Felix is up there with those numbers as well. Just unstoppable frontline coming out from RB, and Paris Saint-Germain have not played badly at all. No. They've taken fights when they needed to take fights. They have tried to force back this RB lineup, but they just haven't been able to actually close out those kills right at the last moment.
I mean, we've praised them for their proactivity, but how do you be proactive against this kind of composition from RB at this stage in the game? And I think it just comes down to they didn't push their advantage quickly enough. Again, like they did in the last game, they just did not have the ability to do so.
They did get forced behind a little bit in the top lane as well, which I think was definitely to their detriment. Mid lane tower is going to fall. That's the first inhib turret down. Sartorius is in Mega, but isn't going to TP in. The wave will not be cleared in time. Mujin as well with this build is absolutely devastating, and Lonnie gets on top of.
Yeah, I think actually you made a really interesting point there, Medic, and it was something that we really touched on in the early game. They did focus Sartorius a lot, and that was important because that was a win condition. PSG, hold on your horses. Cly is getting taken out.
Onto Cly, will flash, has the thick skin still. Tile there off towards the side, getting chased out by Sartorius. The wallop comes down, doesn't quite connect. Meanwhile, top lane tower is still the target for Team RB.
And by taking Sartorius so low and putting him out of action, you limit that win condition for a Gnar split push against a tank in the side lane. Gnar, and it was illustrated in that fight that you said lasted between 10 seconds between Shen and Gnar. Gnar did no damage. He should be doing damage to a tank in a side lane.
I mean, that's a tenth of his health he's just done right there. Right?
Yeah, but he wasn't achieving that at the stage of the game where it mattered.
No, it's still not mattering right now. Like, he's chasing him. One wallop does a tenth, and then he gets that's the Locket shield. TP comes in behind him. Sartorius has to back away. Tal's taking basically no damage. Locket will be back up in a little while. Magic Felix joins the fight.
It's too late to do it at this stage of the game. This needed to happen in the mid game where you actually had a lane to push. You don't have that anymore. And I think we are one team fight away from another 2-0 loss for PSG, and Red Bull's finding their first win of this game.
Zedrian just tanking up the tower for the time being. Nardius is clearing out waves in mid. Magic Felix now the tank. Yeah, he can just stand there for a little bit of time. Doesn't even need his hand on his keyboard to do that. Actually brought the minion wave across, and that actually helps RB because they can then look towards taking the tower. Kaire's down to half already, just being poked out. The double taunt, Hero's entrance, Clyde gets him out. Blanc uses the cleanse as well. Kaire trying to escape the Magic Felix with a flash taunt once again. Here comes the damage straight onto Blanc. That's a shutdown. He's dead for the first time this game. And Paris Saint-Germain are looking down the barrel of a gun as Team RB are fighting for those Nexus towers. The first one down to half. They will look for the second as well. PSG, 3 members left alive, all 5 members of RB. The Gnar hits 3, but it's just not enough. You cannot take down RB. They have too much energy. They've taken too much caffeine. Eventually, Mujin falls. Only the 3rd game time of the game. The Nexus will go down as well. RB 2-0. And we have a horse at the end of the game. There we are. There's the Nexus for you, lads.